Most Christians know more about the history of their country than they do about the history of Christianity. Okay, what is the historic faith? Paul told Timothy, he said, "The things that you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." So there was a faith that was complete. Paul had taught it to Timothy in front of a lot of witnesses. It wasn't something secret, something that, all kinds of people knew. And it wasn't just Paul, it was all of the apostles teaching this. And he trained Timothy so Timothy could train the next generation and hand the faith to them. And he said, prepare them so that they can teach others also. So this would be passed from one generation to the next. So the faith was complete by the time the last apostle died, John, which would have been around the year 100 AD. And we just have to go back and see, what did Christians believe at that time period? Obviously, the New Testament is our best witness. It's our only inspired witness to what the historic faith was. The problem is that today you have thousands and thousands of different churches, denominations, sects. Each one says, we go by just what the Bible teaches, and yet they all teach contradictory things. So with the early Christian writings, we can go back and we can see, what did Christians believe when there was still just one church, where everywhere on earth, all Christians believed the same thing, and they could trace it back to the days of the apostles. So the value of the early Christian writings is we have a witness to what people believed right after the apostles died, and particularly the writings of men who were personally discipled by the apostles. Now, one of the key things is that I do not want any of my listeners to take my word for, this is what the early church taught. Everything I share in these messages are things that people can go themselves and look in the early Christian writings. So many people think that if they go to a Bible encyclopedia or to a commentary, that they've researched the subject by going to that kind of source. No, the only way that you can research any subject, and this applies to secular subjects as well, is to go back to the primary sources. That is, historical documents, if we're talking about history, that were written at or about the time the event took place. So like the New Testament, you want to get as close to it as you can. What did people believe when the New Testament was finished? The people who lived right in that time period, just after that, who heard it from the apostles, how did they understand the Greek? How did they understand the setting of the New Testament? So that's one requirement, is using a primary source. The second is you have to start with a blank slate. If you already have your mind made up of what the historic faith is or what the New Testament teaches, then you're not going to get anywhere with any kind of research. You're just going to be looking for things that bolster your own view. So you've got to start off with a blank slate. Look, I may be totally wrong on this matter. Let me see what people believed in the beginning. This isn't about head knowledge. Reading the early Christian writings totally changed my life. I thought I was a strong, zealous Christian up until the time I read their witness, and then I realized, boy, if I'd lived in the church back in those days, I would be considered a backslidden, really washed out Christian. So it really took me back into the New Testament and made me seriously look at what Jesus Christ was saying, what his apostles were saying. Through these courses, our listeners are going to be learning a lot about the New Testament. They're going to learn a lot about church history and what the early Christians practiced back then. But the whole point is to help them build an obedient love-faith relationship with Jesus Christ, for that to be strengthened so that they can become vital citizens of God's kingdom.